Welcome to On the Money. I'm Rob Herdig. I'm here with Ryan Wheelis. Ryan, how we doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's a crazy world out there today, Rob. We've got a great show for the great folks at Houston. Folks, stay tuned. Man, you know, we're talking today about inflation.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, you call it the hidden tax. I call it the hidden tax.
Yeah. People call it the stealth tax.
Stealth tax.
Whatever you want to call it.
It's a tax.
But we didn't vote for it.
No, we didn't vote for it at all. You know, and here's what's crazy is, you know, the Fed right now is trying to fight inflation with raising interest rates.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room, and that's the supply chain.
Right.
Right. Until we get the supply chain fixed, I believe the Fed can raise rates all they want to, and nothing's going to really happen except, you know, more stuff's going to cost more. Right. But the supply chain issues are largely political.
It's intro to business, right?
It
when
really
you have
is.
a limited supply, guess what? Costs go up.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. So, you know, the thing about it is we're seeing the highest inflation rates in the country that we've seen in 40 years. And folks, I think the current print's about 8.8. I think we're about to see go over 9%.
Yeah.
And so the Fed's likely going to raise rates at a rate of 0.75% for the rest of the year, which is it's insane.
There's some people that are talking that the rates have to be raised to the point where they match the inflation rate, right?
That's exactly right.
You think what that does to consumerism. What's that do to your vacations, your credit card bills, going and borrowing for a car or a home? What does that do for that?
Well, it raises the cost of everything.
It raises the
right?
cost of everything.
If your interest rate on your credit card goes from 20% up to 30%, and unfortunately a lot of us out there live paycheck to paycheck,
right.
You know, we can't do those things. We can't go out and enjoy vacations. We can't travel. We in some cases can't buy gas. We can't buy groceries.
Yeah, what are you giving up? You know, you and I were talking about this, and I think the reason people don't understand the severity of it, when you look at the 100-year average for inflation, it's 3.24%. The last decade was like 2.1, 2.19.
Very low.
So all you had to do, if you were abiding by the 5% rule, which we've talked about a lot in other shows, other segments, and you were taking a 4 or 5% withdrawal from your retirement funds, if you were getting a 7% return, even with inflation, you were still
going up.
Still going up. Now we have 8.9% inflation.
We'll add a 5% distribution rate on top of that. It's 13.9, right? Your portfolio needs to be earning 13.9% per year just to keep up with inflation in your expenditures. And on top of that, all right, think about the risk somebody has to take to get a 13.9% average annual return.
Oh my gosh. You know, I think people thought it was easy the last decade, right? We just had we had a 12-year period, 14-year period where the market just went up and up and up. And these people got this false sense of confidence. The do-it-yourselfers did, I think money managers did, financial advisors did. And now we're in this point in history where we have all these things working against us, and inflation's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
It really is, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Like I said, until they fix the supply chain, I think the issues remain the same. But folks, you know, the thing about it is, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom with you, because that's not who we are at Allied Wealth. But to that end, you know, a lot of people are stuck in the 60-40, you know, stock and bond portfolio, and the universe of investments that they have are stocks and bonds, right? Well, if you look this year, the greatest performing asset class by a mile is energy stocks. Right, and so you can move money over to energy stocks. You can move money towards commodities. You can move money towards gold. Real estate can do well in an inflationary environment. But so many people are kind of stuck in this pigeonholed, one-size-fits-all portfolio, and the universe of investments doesn't go beyond that stock and bond mix. And so they don't have the ability to allocate to gold, or allocate to commodities, or allocate to energy stocks. And so if you don't have that, folks, and you're feeling the pressure, you might want to reconsider a different approach, and we can offer that for you at Allied Wealth.
You know what's interesting? Like people save all this money for retirement. They have this big nest egg that they've saved, and they look at it as a lump sum, and they don't realize that they have to turn that into what in retirement? Income, right? They only look at it as a lump sum. They don't look at it as an income stream. And the numbers you showed me before the show, at 6% inflation, your income need doubles every, what was it, 12 years? Is that right?
Yep.
And right now we're at 8.9. That's about every 7.
Every 7 years.
So explain what that means. So if you need $100,000 a year right now in retirement.
In 7 years, you need $200,000.
So where's that coming from?
It's coming out of your portfolio.
And most people haven't factored in taxes or any market downturns or anything else.
And most advisors have been planning with a very low inflation rate for a very long period of time that hasn't been here. And a lot of people haven't really seen what the long-term impacts their portfolio the impact that inflation can have on their portfolio.
Right.
And folks, if that's you, I can tell you right now, we offer a winning retirement plan strategy session on the show. Take advantage of it. To get it's 844-944-7555, and we will show you the long-term effects of inflation. And what it's going to do is bring down the long-term probability of success of your overall plan. But don't worry, there are things we can do to help mitigate that downside risk, help mitigate the effects of inflation in your portfolio. But if you just put your head in the sand and don't do anything, I promise you, like Rob said a minute ago, your income will double if this rate stays the same, which it very well could for quite some time.
Right.
And you're going to run out of money very, very soon if you don't really have an inflation-adjusted plan.
So the terrifying thing is most people live in retirement. The average person lives in retirement for 18 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not uncommon for somebody to live 20, 25, 30 years in retirement. So if your income need doubles in 7 years, or let's dumb it down, in 6 years, you can't go to work at that point. You're 78, 79 years old at that point.
You could be a Walmart greeter, maybe.
Right.
But most of the people that I work with, they didn't work the life, as hard as they did in life to go back to work when they retire, right? And so it's one of those things where you really got to take that into play as you're doing these retirement plans.
Yeah, I think it's important. Get a first opinion, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. If you don't feel comfortable, keep talking to people, right? Get good guidance. You only get one chance at this.
Yeah, and to that end, Rob, the other thing that could happen is, your lifestyle will change, right? Yeah. So if your income need is $200,000 a year out of your portfolio, and there's no way your portfolio is going to sustain that, the only thing you can do is what? Go back to work,
right?
Stop drawing money out of your portfolio.
Move in with your kids.
Or reduce your income.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to move in with their kids.
Yeah,
I promise you that.
That's what you work so hard your whole life for.
One of the number one concerns that people have today is running out of money, but running out of money leads them to being a burden on their children, and nobody wants that.
Man, it's really interesting. I see so many people that are willing to put their own financial success on the sideline because their relationship with their financial advisor seems to be more important to them. And to me, you're playing with fire.
I have seen it time and time again. I've been with Bill. We were buddies in the Vietnam War. He's been my guy for 20 or 30 years. He comes to Christmas dinners, that sort of thing. And then what we do is it's okay, come on in and see us. We'll do a portfolio x-ray and let's just make sure that Bill's doing right by you, right? Not that Bill's not a good guy or whatever, but sometimes Bill has a limited menu of products and services he can offer people that walk into the door.
Yeah.
Because he works for a company he works for, not you, the client. Like we do at Allied Wealth for fiduciaries. We work for the clients, right? And we test Bill's portfolio and we find out the risk is too high, the fees are too high, commissions are there. Bill's got to make a buck. No wrong to Bill. But the reality is the clients are not getting the value they deserve for the money they're spending in that portfolio. They're not getting the returns back. They're taking too much risk, and they will see that, but they'll walk out of the office and just keep on doing what they're doing.
Man, with what's going on in the world right now, I want to reach through the TV screen and shake people and say, man, wake up and go see somebody, get a second opinion. And people, everybody says, hey, this isn't me. It's got to be somebody else they're talking about. It happens to intelligent people that saved a lot of money.
Sure.
My mom, worked for, a big pharmaceutical company for a long time and did really well on her own and saved a lot of money. And when she went to retire, my mom's got a higher level degree. She's got a master's degree. She's smart. When she went to retire, what she said? This stuff is confusing. It's overwhelming. And I think, there's a lot of smart people that have saved money that feel the exact same way out there. And if you have that feeling, right, you should call in.
Absolutely.
Hey, we're going to break right now. What do we have for people?
Folks, we have a winning retirement plan built for you, customized, tailored for you. What we do is test what you're currently doing, test your current portfolio against your goals, test it against taxes, test it against long-term inflation, and see if we can get your probability of success to maintain a level of 85% all the way through retirement, regardless of what happens with the stock market, the economy, inflation, or interest rates. And to get it is so easy. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call us. It's 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. I'm the same guy in the office as I am right here on the show. So if you like me here, you'll love me in the office. Give us a shout, 844-944-7555. We look forward to seeing you in the office. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with some more great information for you.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to On the Money. I'm Rob Hertig. I'm here with my good friend Ryan Wheelis. Ryan, we're talking about legacy planning today, right?
We are, man. It's a complex thing about legacy planning, right? Because people have a desire to leave money to their kids. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, you know.
Yeah.
And we have a saying in Ally Wealth, Rob, how long does it take your kids to go through your money once they inherit it on average?
What's that?
10 months. 10 months.
Really?
You know why it takes 10 months?
Why is that?
It takes them 9 months to get your will through probate. You know, and folks, the thing about it is you will never ever see a U-Haul behind a hearse at a funeral.
Right.
Why?
Was it?
You
What
can't
is
take
it?
it with you, right? You can't. So, you know, I'm making light of this stuff, folks, because we are talking about death, and death's a sad thing. But nonetheless, you absolutely have to have a good estate plan and a good legacy plan to make sure what happens to your assets goes where you want them to go in the manner that you want them to go. More importantly, folks, make sure your family remains intact after you die.
Right.
'Cause I can't tell you the number of times people think they got slighted. Oh, I was supposed to get grandma's china, and you were supposed to get grandma's ring, and I was supposed to get this, and they didn't get these things, and they all hate each other.
Yeah.
Now Christmas is awkward. Birthdays are awkward.
Right.
Your family doesn't.
Or they don't even talk anymore.
They don't even
right?
talk anymore.
You
And I know you didn't want that for your family, and a good, properly executed estate plan can help mitigate all that risk.
You know, I think sometimes people hear the word legacy planning or estate planning, and they think trusts and wills, right? But it's more than that, right? It's having a game plan, making sure that your intentions get fulfilled. And that could mean leaving your name on the university where you went to school,
Sure.
or making sure your kids and grandkids get to live a life that you didn't get to live yourself, right?
Absolutely.
But what do you have to have before any of this can happen?
Well, before any of that can happen, you've got to have a written comprehensive financial plan.
Yeah.
A written comprehensive financial plan that provides you income in retirement, an investment plan, all right, that helps mitigate downside risk and maximize upside return and fight inflation, all right? You got to have a tax plan, because the more you give to Uncle Sam now, the less you have to give to your heirs later. So you got to have a tax plan.
But you can only do that proactively. You can't do that in arrears.
No question. And Rob, to that end, you got to have a health care plan.
Right.
Right? Because what if I get old and I need long-term care? The last thing you want to do, folks, and this is a part of the legacy plan, by the way, that people overlook, don't be a burden to your children.
Right.
That can be a legacy plan.
Right.
I have a client, very good friend of mine, by the way. His name is Brian. Brian has 2 brothers and a sister. They don't make near as much money as Brian, and Brian was paying $8,000 a month for 3 years for his mom's care. $8,000 a month. And he was delaying funding his own retirement to do that.
That's insane.
It's insane. It absolutely is
You
insane.
do a little planning on the front side, you can have a lot of these things addressed, right?
No question about it, but it takes time to plan on the front side. And so many people are, you know, they're in the mindset, I'm just going to throw some money at the wall and my retirement number's a bazillion and I'm just going to hope something good happens, folks. That's not a plan. A proper plan is executed, it's documented. You know what's going to have built into it. It has contingencies in place for changes and that sort of thing. And folks, for all reasons, the most important part is I don't know of anybody who dies and wants to see their family torn apart because things weren't left behind in a good order,
right?
From the afterlife, if you will.
And that can happen for people that have a plan, but they don't do what? They don't update it, right?
Well, so that's a really good thing, Rob. One of the things we capitalize on often in Ally Wealth is when people come in, they want to show us their money.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested in who you are as a person because I want to find out if I can help you, if I can work with you, and you can work with me as well. But one of the things I want to do first is I want to look at your beneficiaries, especially if you come to us for an estate plan evaluation, which we're going to offer, by the way, at the end of the show. So many times we do an estate plan evaluation and people have taken time to build a trust. Yeah. They've gone to see the estate planning attorney. They have the trust in place. But what they don't do is they don't update the beneficiary designations on their accounts. That's their IRAs, if you're leaving an IRA to a trust, your transfer on death accounts, your bank accounts, CDs, other investments you may have. They don't take time to update those beneficiaries. Yeah. And so they think that because they have a trust, that takes care of it. But I got news for you, folks. The trust document does not take care of it. If you leave your estate to where your assets are not flowing into the trust via beneficiary designation, the trust is trumped by what's on the beneficiary designation form.
So you can make a bad situation where you're grieving and sad a much worse situation. Like if your ex-wife got your money and your current wife was left with nothing, and it happens. I've heard these stories.
I am working with a lady right now who husband, wife, married, had a kid, they divorced, husband remarried, second wife and husband were married for 30 years. He did really well for a major oil company, but he left the first wife as his beneficiary on the 401k.
Oh my gosh.
All right, they did trust planning, estate planning, and the whole 9 yards. He never updated that beneficiary. He died, okay? The first wife got the 401k and happily kept the money because the relationship was contentious. All right, now the good news is that the pension went to the second wife, so she's not entirely broke. But that's something I actually dealt with and experienced on my own.
That could have been completely prevented,
No
100% on the front side.
No question about it.
But you can't do it after. It's another thing. You can't do it after the
You
fact.
can't do it after the fact. And so many people just overlook that so important part of the estate plan.
You know, it's interesting. I think, you know, you look at life insurance, people don't like to talk about it. You look at estate planning, they don't like to talk about it. And I think it's because it involves them no longer being here.
It
right?
does, you know, it does. And to that end, Rob, the other thing too is that, you know, tax laws have changed a lot, right? So we talk about how one of the most punitive things in the tax code is the fact that when a spouse dies, the surviving spouse can file a joint tax return for one more year.
Yeah.
But after that year, they must start filing as a single filer, which creates a much, much higher tax rate on their current income and can lower their standard of living. So if that couple would have taken time to do Roth IRA conversions and had a Roth IRA conversion plan, all right, along the way, they could have helped mitigate that risk of the spouse having surviving spouse having a lower standard of living because they're paying more taxes.
Lower income, higher tax rates.
That's exactly right. And then to that end, the other thing to think about too is, you know, if you've got a couple $1 million, $3, $4, $5 million, there's a correlation with people who have a lot more money to sending their kids to school.
Yeah.
Okay. So if mom and dad have a $3, $4, $5 million IRA, and they dump that on their son or daughter's plate, who they sent to school, now they're both working at Exxon, making $300,000 or $400,000 a year. Well, the son and daughter have to liquidate those IRA accounts over a 10-year period under the new Secure Act.
Yeah.
All right. So if you've got $4 million in a 401k or IRA, all right, 10% a year is added on your kid's income. So if he's making $250,000 a year, he's having to pull out $400,000 a year out of that IRA and pay tax on it. You just blew up his current income situation, and you're paying more money to the government, all right, when he could have done some Roth planning along the way, which is a big part of legacy planning.
Right.
And so many advisors look over a good Roth conversion strategy down the way for their surviving spouse's taxes going up and the taxes they could create for their kids.
There's never been a better time. Taxes have been on sale for 40 years. And with this current tax plan, take advantage of it. And we talk about taxes and legislative risk. Talk about the legislative risk on the estate, right? It's probably the most advantageous time in history to be proactive about planning for the estate,
Rob,
right?
We talk about all the time how would you play a board game with your kids if you held all the cards and could change the rules?
Right.
No, and they can change the rules on you anytime they want to. And you can't do anything
What's the
about
exclusion right now?
$22 million.
And what was it just 10 years
It's been
ago?
as little as $1 million, and as little as $600,000, and as little as $1 million.
Think about that.
And I got news for you, folks. Uncle Sam is broke. He's $30 trillion in debt, and they're going to be grabbing things like crazy. And I believe very strongly the death tax, as we call it, will come back into play and could very well create a situation where a lot more of your hard-earned dollars does not where you want it to go. It goes to where Uncle Sam wants it to go, in their pocket. They're bad business people, by the way. So what do we do about it, folks? Well, what we do about it is we have an estate plan evaluation to offer for the folks who are watching the show. And to get it, it's 844-944-7555, the number to call. Again, 844-944-7555. One more time, 844-944-7555. Pick up the phone right now and call us. Our phone lines are open right now. And to that end, what we're going to do is look at your estate plan and make sure, most importantly, your beneficiary designations on your accounts match your estate plan. Yeah. We're going to build a Roth conversion strategy for you to make sure we disinherit Uncle Sam from your IRAs as much as possible. It's all part of our estate plan evaluation. 844-944-7555. Stay with us. We'll be right back with some more great information for you.
The work never seems to end until it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's just beginning. Live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams. Find out how today.
Welcome back to On the Money. I'm Rob Hertig, here with Ryan Wheelis. Ryan, what are we talking about this segment?
Man, today is a doozy.
Is it?
You know, it impacts everybody.
Yeah.
And there's so many decisions that have to be made around it. There's so much marketing going on right now. All these dinner workshops and that sort of thing, you know, to come check out this stuff. And what it is, folks, is it's Social Security.
Well, you have this called the Big Secret. So what do the Big Secret and Social Security have in common here? I don't get it.
You know, the big secret is that there used to be all of these filing strategies.
Yeah, file and suspend.
You file and suspend. And what happened, folks, is advisors like me, all right, who are very good at what they do and understand all the rules around Social Security, or as much as you can, right? Sometimes they change too, by the way. We were gaming the system on the behalf of our clients.
Yeah.
And Social Security started going, wait a minute, these guys have figured this out. If we do these file and suspend and file these restricted applications, they can get more out of Social Security.
Right.
And all of a sudden the administration goes, we're already in trouble.
Yeah.
All right, this thing's already kind of in trouble on its own. We can't allow this to happen.
They called it a loophole. They created it, but they called it a loophole.
It was a loophole. They created it. And so what they did is they came up with something called the deeming rule. All right. So once you file for a Social Security benefit and you get a check, you were deemed to have that check for the rest of your life. That's it. You can't change it.
Yeah. So while you slept, October 28th of 2015, right? They voted for something called the Bipartisan Budget Act, and they did it under the cover of night because they couldn't face you. And it was everybody, so don't point fingers at the other party. They all voted for it.
It was a bipartisan bill that passed.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
And they eliminated every one of your filing strategies. So what they don't tell you when you get one of these mailers in the mail saying, come learn about Social Security, there's nothing to learn anymore.
No, there's really not.
It's all about what?
It's all about people trying to sell you something.
So when you actually file, it's about timing now.
Well, yeah.
Because there are no strategies left.
There really aren't. I mean, so, Rob, what we do, and there's still some things to consider, for sure. So one of the things we do at Allied Wealth when we build a financial plan is we test it for long-term probability of success. And so, for instance, I have people come in and say, well, Ryan, the system's going to go bankrupt. And maybe it will. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right? I don't personally believe it will, but maybe it will, okay? There certainly could be means testing. There could be a 25% cut in benefits. There are things like that could happen. I don't think it goes completely away.
Right.
All right? But to that end, what people do is say, okay, I got to get it at 62, right? Got to get it, all right? Or I want to take it at 67, or I want to take it at 70. And they look at that and they base it on how long they'll live, their life expectancy, and they want to get as much out of theirs.
Or what somebody at work told them, right?
Or the guy at the water cooler,
Right.
Bubba, the neighbor, or whatever. Folks, and listen, you have a right to get every dollar out of your Social Security benefits because they're already rightfully yours. But there are so many more moving parts than that. For instance, we test plans at Allied Wealth for long-term probability of success. So if your long-term probability of success of your plan for taking Social Security at 62 is, say, 80%, okay, and at 67, it's 85%. And if you take Social Security at age 70, it jumps up to 90%.
Yeah.
We're going to take Social Security.
Right.
All right. I'm going to take it at 90% probability of success because that's the highest success rate from my overall plan when I factor in the other savings, investments, pensions, 403Bs, 401Ks, whatever else I have.
Yeah. The information age has been great for a lot of reasons, but it's also, I think it's hurt people a little bit. And I think the do-it-yourselfers, we've had this bull market for 12, 14 years, right? We had a little pullback in 2020, but we ended the year on a positive note, actually up for the year. And these do-it-yourselfers have been given all this confidence, and they believe in what they're doing. And with filing for Social Security, with planning for Social Security, it's not easy to recover anymore. It's a sheer ledge, and if you fall off, right, how do you get back up onto the path?
You don't.
You don't. So if somebody's doing this on their own and they want to file, learn how to file Social Security benefits on their own, they could go to AARP.com and run a calculator.
You can go read the thousands of pages on the Social Security website, which will put you to sleep very fast, folks.
Right. but there's so many variables. And I think these do-it-yourselfers don't understand. There's WIP provisions, like if you had a pension, right? There's so many little factors that can...
Social Security offsets.
Right.
Yeah.
Life expectancy, right?
For
Are
sure.
we being honest about life expectancy? Because that's one thing that really will impact when the filing, perfect time to file is, right?
For sure.
So how does somebody know?
Rob, you got to come talk to somebody like me who helps walk through the traps. And granted, folks, the traps, the contingencies are lower today. There's less of them today than there were in the past. But here's something to think about. If you take Social Security at 70, both spouses at 70, so they're a married couple, they're both same age. At 70, they're married, and the wife's benefit is half the husband's.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's assume the benefit's $70,000. All right. The wife gets $20,000. The husband gets $50,000 of Social Security income, or $25,000. What happens is when the husband dies, statistically he'll predecease the wife. The spouse gets the larger Social Security check.
Right.
So one of the ways to set up your surviving spouse for a longer period of time with a guaranteed source of income in retirement that's inflation adjusted, by the way, is for her to get the most out of that check as you can.
Right.
But you've got to test those strategies, right? You don't just go blindly say, I've got my spreadsheet and I test it and I'm going to live to 81 and a half years of age. If I don't get it now, my break even's 83. I don't know if I'm going to live that long. And the other thing too, Rob, is so many people who run these calculations of their own. And they're the engineers, and again, engineers at home, I love you. I work with you all day long. I appreciate the business you guys send our way, and I'm happy to have more of you come to the firm because we love working with you. You guys are analytical, and we do well with you. But they don't factor in on these spreadsheets. They don't factor in taxes.
Right.
Right.
And there are taxes due.
There are taxes due, and people get mad about it. Like, what's a double tax? Well, whether it is or isn't, folks, you still have to pay taxes.
It's the reality. It's what you're dealing with today, right?
Is.
It's really interesting. The Social Security filing strategies, you and I ran a scenario prior to doing the show, and we did a scenario where we showed what the benefit was filing as early as you can, what it was filing at FRA, which is full retirement age, and then what it was deferring as long as you can to age 70. And there was a $460,000 difference on the scenario that we ran. That's not small potatoes. That's real money, right?
It's real money, you know. And folks that, you know, we deal with a lot of higher end, wealthier folks at Allied Wealth.
Yeah.
And so to that end, they're not as worried about Social Security benefits. And to them, we sometimes say, hey, take it as early as you can get it and get as much as you can because of the tax implications, right?
So, yeah, absolutely.
But to that end, on average, for the average married couple today, Social Security combined benefits over a life expectancy can be as much as 1.5 to 1.8 million bucks.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money you have or don't have. If you had $1.5 million to $1.8 million account, you're going to treat that thing with love and care.
Right. You know what's interesting about the topic of Social Security? When you talk about Social Security, people think it's for people with no money, that have saved nothing for retirement. And when you and I were talking about this right now, really the only people that benefit from a Social Security analysis are people with assets. And it's all about preserving those assets and maximizing them. So if you're hearing a conversation about Social Security, you think it's for, you know, the people that haven't saved, are going to rely almost solely on Social Security for income and retirement. That's not who we're speaking to here.
Not
right?
at all, not at all. And folks, and listen, I'm sorry to tell you, if you're on disability, I can't help you, right? Your disability check's your disability check. I wish you all the best, but I can't help you increase that. But if you are someone who is thinking about retirement and looking at how Social Security impacts you over the long term, it is something we can absolutely help you determine. But remember, we're related to long-term probability of success. If you take it to 62, how does it impact us 20 and 30 years in the future?
Right.
If you take it at 67, how does it impact us 20 or 30 years in the future? If you take it at 70, how does it impact the surviving spouse?
Right.
Right, 20, 30, even 40 years in the future.
Right.
Okay. And so to that end, folks, the way we do that is a Social Security Max Report. So to get a Social Security Max Report, we're going to take a deep dive into your Social Security benefits and help you figure out the best time based on probability of success to take your Social Security benefits. And to get that is so easy. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. Our phone lines are open. The number is 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. Call now to get your Social Security Max Report.